Well, it's Wednesday, and you all know what that means. As you probably know, with WWE Evolve, as you probably can guess, Kali Armstrong, our inaugural Women's Evolve champion, has called out Jin Tala. As you probably know, Jin Tala is the one who's been causing all kinds of hell. So, we're going to see how things will progress from that. And of course, we have a very interesting dilemma. As you probably know, Keanu Carver is now targeting those involved in the WWE ID prospect. And that includes, of course, our inaugural men's Evolved champion. That includes, of course, Jackson Drake. But the real question is, can they stop him? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. Now, as you probably know, in AEW Dynamite, battle lines are now being drawn for the upcoming Forbidden Door in London later on this month on the 24th. But the real question is, what's going to happen when we get there? As you know, MJF has his sights set on the AEW World Title. Athena has her sights set on, of course, the AEW Women's World Title. So we're going to see some chaos and mayhem and see what happens. And of course, we see the aftermath after Kyle Fletcher defeated Dustin Rhodes for the TNT title. And we continue more with the tournament to determine who will be the number one contenders to face the Hurt Syndicate for the AEW World Tag Team belt. So buckle up on that. And then, of course, we cap up our episode as usual with some news updates that give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events the promotions are thrown out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of pro wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK. Anywhere in the world, pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information was unable to be on this episode, we can put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us and click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, enough with the yapping. It's time to boogie. So, let's begin with WWE Evolve. Alright, WWE Evolve. As you know, for a while now, we've been seeing what's been going on in the women's locker room in Evolve for quite some time. We had no idea who was the attacker until the attacker showed herself, and it turned out to be Jin Tala. And Jin Tala, as you know, made a play for the Evolve Women's Championship. So that is one of the bigger plays here. So Kali Armstrong, as you know, is scheduled to face Jin Tala defending her title. But it was supposed to be the main event, but later was pushed ahead. And that's how it is, thanks to the Prime Minister of Evolve, Stevie Turner. But you can tell that this match must have been a very difficult match for, of course, Kali Armstrong, knowing that you're in uncharted waters because you had no idea what you're stepping into. Jin Tala is determined to win, but of course, there's going to be that one opening moment where Kali Armstrong has to overcome it, and that's exactly what she did until she applied the Kali connection, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, she retained the title. But however, during the post match, apparently we had an unexpected visitor who is now making a play for the championship as well, and that's of course coming from NXT, Carmen Petrovic. Now, I'm not 100% sure if she's making the move to Evolve or she's just stopping by. I don't know, but we'll see. Now, the Vanity Project, as you know, are claiming that they are now in full control of WWE Evolve. So they have a few things on their mind. One is, of course, is Brooks Jensen, as you know, made the attack on Jackson Drake after defeating Lince Dorada. It's still unclear why, but also they're fully aware they're being targeted by Keanu Carver. And of course, they decided to send Bryce Donovan to do their dirty work to ensure they teach them a lesson that the Vanity Project are in control. But that's going to be our main event when we get there. Now, in the backstage, we did see Kendall Gray and Carly Bright. As you know, they have their minds set on Wendy Chu because recently Wendy Chu showed up out of nowhere and just spooked the hell out of Kendall Gray. It's unclear why, but they wanted a piece of her, so Carly Bright decided to get a little piece of revenge against her. So we'll get to that soon. Now, the Prime Minister of Evolve was talking to Carmen Petrovic. As you know, that she's asking for a title shot. But it seems that, of course, Tyra May Steele is not liking this whatsoever. So it seems that, saying, hey, you're not supposed to be going after the title. It should be me. But you know how that is. So anything's going to go hell from there. Now, our next match we have, of course, is Carly Bright versus Wendy Chu. Now, of course, I have to say Wendy Chu, we have seen what she's capable of. But Carly Bright, I have to say seems like she was able to handle things in some perspective to ensure she does not lose. But she did try to outmaneuver the sleeper hold that Wendy Chu has been using most of the time. But she ducked it first time. But unfortunately, the second time, it was not so lucky. Apparently, she ended up in the sleeper hole. Kendall Gray looked helpless not to do anything. But the real question is, what's going to happen now? Does this mean Kendall Gray will have to step up her game to deal with Wendy? I don't know. So, we're going to find out soon enough. Now, we did see an interview with Tate Wilder with Chewy Martinez. Apparently, he got in the face. Apparently, Brooks Jensen got in his face. Apparently, you know how that is. Apparently, someone doesn't like being a cowboy and all that. But we'll get to that at some other point. Now, our main event features, of course, Bryce Donovan taking on Keanu Carver. Now, of course, as you probably remember, Keanu Carver decided to make a statement saying that I'm coming for anybody involved in WWE ID. He already took out Shawn Legacy, who's part of it. And now he's coming for Jackson Drake and the rest of the Vanity Project, who in fact, of course, are involved in that. And of course, the Vanity Project wants to prove their point. Now, of course, you would think that there was going to be nothing to stop Keanu Carver. But this put, of course, the Vanity Project, they're like, no, we can't have that. So, of course, Ricky Smokes, being, of course, the dumbass that he is, decided to find a chair until Brooks Jensen showed up out of the blue. Nobody knew why. And then, of course, Brooks Jensen was attacked by Jordan Oasis. And I'm not sure what happened after that. But, of course, while this mayhem was happening, nobody in the Vanity Project is realizing that all hell is breaking loose in the ring when Keanu Carver took out Bryce Donovan, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. But this is the question. Should Vanity Project, should our first inaugural Men's Evolve champion, should be concerned over Keanu Carver, because he's on a mission to claim the championship. And that's something I think the Vanity Project has to consider. They claim they have everything under their control, but the reality is, are they? We saw what he did to Timothy Thatcher. We saw what he did to Shawn Legacy. We saw what he's capable of. But the real question is, can they stop him? Well, we'll just have to wait and see what happens next week. So, as of right now, let's move on, of course, with our next review. And this is our last one, of course, AEW Dynamite. AEW Dynamite. As you know, I mentioned battle lines are now being drawn for the upcoming Forbidden Door. Now, we opened up with MJF. Many of you may or may not have been aware MJF recently was in CML and won one of their championships and brought it with them. However, now he's making a play, of course, for the AEW World title, but he has one obstacle that stands in his way, and that is, of course, Mark Briscoe. Apparently, of course, Mark Briscoe has been dealing with them for quite some time, and now it's going to come into fruition in the grudge match in the main event. Now, our next match, we have Jon Moxley versus Speedball Mike Bailey. Of course, you know how Jon Moxley is. He's unhinged, knowing too well right now that Darby Allin has been nothing but a pain in his butt since his return, losing the AEW World title to Hangman. And now it seems that Jon Moxley he has to deal with them, but he has to focus on Speedball. Now, of course, Speedball, we know what he's capable of. Man, you saw what he did with the Ultimate Weapon in the railing, and I thought that was nuts. But of course, it's no secret wherever Jon Moxley goes, Marina Shafir and Wheeler Yuta were right there. But luckily, Speedball's tag team partner, Kevin Knight, of course, was there to ensure that things go exactly according to plan. But apparently, things didn't go well for Wheeler Yuta, because apparently he got kidnapped by Darby Allin. And of course, Jon Moxley and Marina Shafir saw that, and they were helpless to find out what has happened. But this did not change the outcome of the match, because it was Jon Moxley that took out Speedball with, of course, the Paradigm Shift, also known as the Death Rider, and just like that, they just won the match. But there was no time to celebrate, because they were looking for their boy Wheeler Yuta, who was kidnapped. Later on, we did see what happened. Apparently, Darby Allin left them in a body bag, leaving a message to Jon Moxley saying, "I want you at Forbidden Door." And of course, that's where one of the battle lines have now been drawn. So we'll see where that goes from there. Now, we did see a bit of an interview with by Renee Paquette to Toni Storm and Alex Windsor. Now, as you all know, Toni Storm will defend, of course, her AEW Women's World title at Forbidden Door in London, which of course has been well known. She's been unlucky there. But also her friend Alex Windsor will be involved in a #1 contendership for the TBS title against Mercedes Moné, but she has to go through 3 other women, of course. And of course, everybody knows how it is. But I have to say, the interaction between Alex Windsor and Toni Storm is amazing. I loved it. I think many of you may like it too, but it was really great. Now, of course, we did see Mercedes Moné made her return. As you probably know, for a while she's been collecting belts, calling herself the belt collector. But however, she is not too thrilled to talk about her loss towards Toni Storm. But now she has to focus on who will be the challenger for her TBS title. So we'll see what happens, and that's exactly that match that was next. We have Alex Windsor versus Queen Aminata versus Sky Blue versus Billy Starks. Now, of course, Billy Starks was accompanied by Athena, but Athena was unaware that apparently Toni Storm decided to show the hell up. That's exactly what happened. But of course, Athena tried to ensure that this match goes in favor to Billy Starks, but luckily Toni Storm took matters in her own hands and knocked her out, giving of course Alex Windsor the chance to win the match by an inside cradle, making her the #1 contender at Forbidden Door for the TBS title. But however, of course, Mercedes Moné comes out to confront her opponent that she will be facing. And then, of course, while that was happening, Toni Storm, who was right there watching the back of Alex Windsor, was unaware that she got O-faced by Toni Storm. And of course, Mercedes Moné took out Alex Windsor. And then we see a face-to-face confrontation between Mercedes Moné and Athena. As you know, now it seems like tensions between them. They may have a common goal, but one of them arguing, "I'm the one who's going to be at the top." And of course, that's something we will see down the road. Now, the Young Bucks, as you know, things have not been looking well for them ever since losing their EVP status to Swerve and Will Ospreay. And then, of course, they decided to tell them to do this, to go back to their ways, what they used to do, showing off all this stuff. And that's exactly what happened. Now, we did see a bit of a promo in the ring. Kyle Fletcher, as you know, as the TNT champion, along with the Don Callis family, celebrating the victory. And of course, Don Callis, being a little kiss ass, as you probably know, decided to show a little appreciation to Kyle Fletcher, showing them a bit of a portrait of him giving the belt to Kyle Fletcher, but a part of him like connected to it. I don't know what that is. That sounds a bit of a weird thing, but sooner or later, Kyle Fletcher will lose the title, but to someone who is more challenging. So we'll see where that goes. Now, Renee Paquette talked to, of course, Adam Copeland, talk about something very interesting. Of course, he did hear what, of course, Christian Cage said a week ago, but of course, he is still saying, well, he's still an a-hole, that's, which of course, it's obvious. But he did talk about FTR and Stokely Hathaway, but he said next week he put himself in a match against Stokely, but apparently there's a bit of a problem. FTR put a restraining order on him, and he put a restraining order on them, so that means they cannot help. So this is a bit of a pickle for, of course, FTR and Stokely. So we'll see what happens. Now, we continue with more of the World Tag Team Tournament Eliminator match in the semifinals. Bandito, and Brody King, as you know, made it this far. They faced against one of the best tag teams in the world. Now, the Young Bucks, oh my God. It's so funny that their entrance did not go according to plan. The lift up, well, it just couldn't be lift up, so they had to go under it, And then, of course, the pyro, there was not much of a pyro. And then someone actually showed their loss towards Will Ospreay and Swerve. And then, of course, they put Max and Jeremy. If you guys remember, back in the day in TNA, they go Max and Jeremy Buck, that doing the whole generation meet. But of course, you would have assumed in this category that the Young Bucks had the advantage to win due to their cohesion. But unfortunately, that cohesion didn't do anything for them whatsoever, because it was great to see now that Brody and Bandito were able to pick up the pace, and you saw that move we saw the last time that Bandito did with Brody, which was insane, and it worked in their favor. It took only 2 tries, and it was Matt, in fact, who took the fall, and just like that, Brodito is in the finals to take on FTR. So that's going to be an interesting thing to see. But the real question is who will walk out between those two, the face, the Hurt Syndicate. So that's something we will wait and see. Now, we did see the Hurt Syndicate, of course. They're acknowledged about the tournament, and they wish Brodito and FTR the best of luck until, of course, MJF showed up. Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley just left. MVP said, look, I love you as a little brother, but you know how that is. Now, FTR and Stokely Hathaway were talking with Alicia Atout, responding to what Adam Copeland just did. So basically, they realize they know this is one of his mind games, and they know exactly what it is. And Stokely Hathaway thinks that he can hurt him. Well, we'll see about that. That's going to be an interesting thing to see. Now, Renee Paquette was on the ringside waiting for, of course, Strickland to talk about, of course, his upcoming battle against Okada. Now, this was something that kind of put him in an emotional state, because if you guys remember history, it was Strickland that defeated Will Ospreay and, of course, in Forbidden Door, which, of course, he said, look, I love Will Ospreay. He's my family. He's a good friend, and I love him dearly. I mean, I was capable of taking him out at Forbidden Door. But Okada, you don't think I'm capable of taking you out at Forbidden Door? So he's telling them this. So that's going to be interesting to see. Now, we did see, of course, Mark Briscoe with Alicia Atout talk about his main event match against MJF. Now, there's been talk saying that if he does defeat MJF, then there is the possibility that he could be in a AEW World Title contingency. And of course, that could be the possibility. But Hangman, of course, shows up saying, Briscoe, I known you, 13, 14 years. I know what you're capable of. People said in recent years you haven't been yourself ever since then. But if you do defeat MJF, I'm willing to put this title on the line for you. And that's exactly what he would do. But we will see what happens. Now, Renee Paquette decided to do an interview with Queen Aminata. As you know, she came up short in the #1 contendership. And then Willow Nightingale showed up, being a good friend, of course. And look, I know it sucks that you lost, girl. I mean, I get it, you know. But that match was amazing. I have to say, you did an amazing job. So now that that is out of the way, we can focus on what pressing matters with the Triangle of Madness. As you probably know, they have that in sight. And then Chris Statlander showed up. Like, what the hell, girl? Like, you could tell by Queen Aminata and Will, like, what the hell? You know, this is not you. But it seems like now Chris Statlander decided, you know, to let that go. I don't trust Chris Statlander. I have a feeling she's going to stab her in the back, guys. And I'm saying this right now. If that happened, I'm not going to say, I told you so. I said, I'll say this. I saw that coming. And we'll see what happens. Now, our main event is MJF versus Mark Briscoe. You can tell this match was brutal. You can tell it was crazy. But the real question is, MJF did everything possible. He used the diamond ring to take him out. It didn't do squat for him. And then, of course, Briscoe tried to use a froggy bow outside the ring on the table. It didn't go exactly according to his plan. But, of course, MJF walked away with the win when he applied first the Heat Seeker. And then, of course, but we did see a moment where Briscoe used the foot to cover, and the ref didn't see it. And just like that, MJF won. But MJF decided to dismantle Briscoe until Hangman Page showed up. And of course, Hangman and MJF got in each other's faces, so all hell broke loose. So now, it's possible we could see MJF versus Hangman at Forbidden Door. So we'll see what happens until then. But as of right now, we are officially done with our reviews. Let's move on with our last and final thing, news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news updates. So let's begin as always with upcoming events. All women's British promotion Eve has announced for their upcoming event on the 23rd of August. The Eve Championship will be on the line. Nightshade will defend her title against, of course, former AEW Women's World Champion Nyla Rose. Now, it's been a while since we haven't seen her. I don't know if anybody knows the deal about Nyla Rose. Is she still with AEW or was she released? I haven't heard anything about that. But if anybody has that information, can you please leave a comment down below, because I really need to know. So that's pretty much it for that event. Then, of course, French promotion Banger Zone Wrestling with their upcoming event on the 30th of August announced for Joey Janela versus Thiago Montero. So yes, Joey Janela has become a regular in Banger Zone Wrestling, appearing there. So it's going to be interesting to see. MLW announced for their Fightland event on of September 13th that Blue Panther Jr. will be participating. And then, of course, Jersey Championship Wrestling with Knockout taking place on the 21st of September. We have Tong Billings, better known as Dynamite Kid, teams up with Man Like the Reese. They take on Darian Bankston and Jonathan Gresham. And then finally, Fantastica Mania UK taking place on October 18th. A collaboration between, of course, CML, New Japan, Rev Pro, and possibly ROH will be taking place. They announced Zondakan Jr. will be participating. So that's pretty much it for upcoming events. Now let's talk about some developments. Many of you guys may remember Himeka, who is a former member of DDM and, of course, former tag teammate with, of course, like Julia, Tekla, Maika, Mai Sakurai, and a few others. Well, it was announced that Himeka will be a special guest on August 16th at the homecoming of Mai Sakurai. So I don't know exactly what special guest she's going to do, but it's great to hear from her. We know she attended when Maika, of course, won the title, and I know she's good friends with Mina Shirakawa, so we'll see what happens from there. Go Shiozaki, many of you may remember him. He is the former GHC heavyweight champion, part of Pro Wrestling Noah? Well, it's just been announced that he'll be making his return, but however, there's been worried about his movement properly. Now, if you guys know what I'm talking about, let's compare him. For those who don't know, Go Shiozaki, he's kind of like the ace of Noah in some capacity, but now he's having the same kind of movement that Tanahashi has. Apparently, he had a double knee surgery, so looks more like he could have that same kind of mobility that Tanahashi has been dealing with for years. But there are people who've been worried about that. So I don't know what to say. I mean, I hope he knows what he's doing. I hope he does not make things worse for himself. So that's pretty much what we've been hearing. Now, it was later announced by High Spots that there's been talk about the possibility of having AAA and TNA being part of Peacock. Now, as you know, that's something that we've been seeing with WWE in the past. So I don't know for sure if that's all true. There's been talk about, all this and that. But if it is, then I'm sure many fans will be happy about it. So we'll see. Now, a very interesting topic has come up, and I think many of you may remember. Many of you may remember Kiera Hogan. She is one of the baddies with Jada, Jade Cargill and Layla Gray, and I believe so. So anyway, no, not Layla Gray. Who else? Oh yeah, Red Velvet. Apparently, we haven't heard from her in a while. We know she's been wrestling for quite some time, but apparently she has a new venture she's been involved in recently. Those who did not know, she's been involved in music. So basically, she wrestling has been like a stepping stone for her. She'll always love pro wrestling, and she just made a statement about this. Let me pull it up for all of you. Yeah, so here it is. Yes, I said pro wrestling always going to be the stepping stone for other things, and I meant that. Because wrestling has always been my first love, but I'm a multi-talented and unapologetic ambitions. I knew from the jump that wrestling would open doors for me in fashion, TV, and beyond, just as it has for many others before me. The cheers when wrestlers land movie roles, runaway shows, or makeup deals. But get mad when I say I loud, I'm not here to play small or limit myself to one lane. I'm here to build an empire. Assigned the hottest flame. So yeah, so basically she is involved in the music business now. I did saw a video of her doing a musical thing, but yes. So we have seen, of course, wrestlers that been the jump that had opened doors, like of course movie roles, other things. I mean, we saw that with John Cena, Dave Bautista, and a few others involved in movies. So it makes sense. And of course, Kiera Hogan's not going to apologize for using wrestling as a stepping stone, but she probably appreciates the opportunity she was given. But now we'll see how things will go. Hopefully, we'll see her again down the road. But I think that's pretty much it for now. So as of right now, let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, as you probably know, we have Ring of Honor and TNA. So a lot of things is going to happen. TNA, as you know, are preparing for their upcoming pay-per-view Emergence. Battle lines also being drawn in that. Ring of Honor, well, we'll see how things will go. But also, I believe we will be doing a New Japan review, I believe. Let me look it up real quick. I know I have it here mentioned onto me. Yes, there is, of course, a New Japan event that took place. We're continuing with more of the G1, and I think this is day 13, I believe, and we're focusing, I believe, the A block matches. So we'll see how things will progress. So I can't wait to review all of this. Like I said, I'm still behind on some events, so we'll catch up with those as soon as possible. But as of right now, I will say this, and I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.